This is the Paltalk News Network.
The views expressed are solely those of the speaker and not necessarily those of Paltalk.com, AVM Software, or its advertisers.
News Talk is online. News Talk Online is a production of Paltalk.com, the largest multimedia interactive program on the internet with more than 4 million unique users on demand on iTunes and on YouTube and on my blog, GaryBaumgarten.com, where you're encouraged to post your comments whether you agree with yours truly or not. No retribution. And thanks to our great friends at CRN Digital Talk Radio, we're syndicated to an additional 12 million households. I am your host, Gary Baumgarten, and I welcome you to the show and reminding you that you should be going to paltalknewsnetwork.com often to read stories that you may or may not see, hear, or read in the mainstream media. We're going to talk about the Iranian regime and the possibility that it's on the verge of toppling in just a moment. Before we get to that, I want to remind you that in the new year, on the 7th of January, I believe that's a week from tomorrow, it will be our first edition of 2010 of Make It Pro TV with Michelle Granger, the outstanding gold medalist winner from the Olympics, softball pitcher with the lowest ERA of anybody you've ever met, male or female, professional or amateur. She'll be here at 8 o'clock on the 7th. If you go to makeitpro.com and register, and it's a free registration, and go to Michelle's profile and make a nice comment on her wall or ask a question for the show, you'll be in the running for an upgraded nickname here on Paltalk and or a beautiful, stylish, limited edition Make It Pro t-shirt. Don't forget to make it pro. Okay, yesterday, we talked about what's been going on in Iran. It's a story that we don't want to allow to slip between the cracks because of this terrorism threat that we've also been covering quite extensively with regard to the guy who allegedly tried to blow up the plane that had left Amsterdam and was arriving at Detroit Metro Airport. And there are a lot of new developments in that case as well that you can read at paltalknewsnetwork.com. Interesting development in Iran. Yesterday, you'll recall, we led off the show with very disturbing video of the cops in a 4x4 truck running over a demonstrator quite deliberately. Now there is an ominous indicator that suggests that the leaders of Iran are fearful that the regime might topple, perhaps as a result of what's becoming a far more brazen counter-regime human rights movement on the streets. Radio Netherlands is reporting that Ayatollah Khamenei's jet is on 24-hour standby to shepherd the entire Iranian leadership from that nation to Russia should they lose their iron-fisted grip on the nation. There are many both in and outside of Iran that are praying that perhaps that might be true. It would be nice if there was a bloodless coup in Iran. Joining us here today to talk about the developments is somebody whose perspective may be a little bit different than mine, which is just fine. He's a human rights activist. His name is Rostam Pourzal. I believe I'm pronouncing your name right. Pourzal? How do I pronounce your last name?
Pourzal.
Pourzal. Pourzal. Rostam Pourzal is on the board of the United States branch of the Campaign Against Sanctions and Military Intervention in Iran. Since 2001, he has worked full-time in Washington, D.C. as an independent researcher and organizer for human rights. He visits Iran regularly and has served on the boards of several Iranian-American organizations. You've probably seen and heard him on Pacifica Radio, CNN International, Aljazeera, MSNBC, and BBC and other world media. I want to thank you and welcome you, Rostam Pourzal, to News Talk Online on the Paltalk News Network.
Thank you very much. Good to be with you.
Good to have you with us. Now, I am one of those who has been frustrated with this administration for not speaking out more stridently about the human rights violations in Iran. And for the world community, the permanent 5 members of the United Nations Security Council, plus Germany, meeting on the telephone around Christmas time to say, okay, we'll meet again after the first of the year to talk about sanctions for Iran's refusal to live up to its promise to ship its enriched uranium outside of the country. You, on the other hand, are opposed not only to the threat of military action, but even sanctions. Do you honestly believe, sir, that with this particular regime that it's possible to sit down and hold hands and sing Kumbaya and negotiate a peaceful accord and exit from what is becoming a showdown between Iran and the international community?
Well, it depends on what you mean by the international community. Iran's nuclear rights have been supported consistently by many international organizations, mainly the 120-member non-aligned movement, which has a very good reputation, and the Conference of Islamic States and so on. The main reason that I am opposed to U.S. intervention in Iran are twofold. One is that, or by Israel, a military attack, according to the UN Charter, which is enforceable law in the United States, according to our Constitution. According to the UN Charter, preemptive war is illegal, just like the war on Iraq was illegal. And secondly, Iran is not in violation of the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. It's been one of the earliest and main supporters of the NPT. The nuclear weapons states, the United States and half a dozen others, members of NPT, are obligated to provide, in good faith, nuclear technology assistance to countries like Iran. And because they have violated their obligations under NPT to Iran, that's why, and in fact they have discouraged, pressured other countries not to cooperate with Iran. That's why Iran's nuclear program was clandestine for a couple of decades. And the International Atomic Energy Agency has conducted several thousand man-hours of inspections throughout Iran and has consistently said that they have found no shred of evidence that Iran has a weaponization program. Third and last, the reason that my group opposes sanctions and war is related not only to Iran, but to the principle that